So in the previous lesson, we were able to create a very basic app from our code called Hello Flutter. Our design of the app seems pretty scary and we'll be working on decoration. But before that, let's understand what widgets are in Flutter. Now, if you look into this API documentation of Flutter, you can see there are a lot of things we need to understand about widgets. But let me summarize this for you. So widgets are a part of user interface, meaning that everything that you see on Flutter are widgets. So this can be a text widget, this can be an icon or an image widget, this can be a button widget, this can be a text widget that is slightly decorated, this can be a widget with a background color white and inside of it there are text widget and image widgets. So everything that you see on Flutter are built up with widgets. So now let's have a look into our code to understand widgets better. So inside of this run app, if you hover at this run app, you can see that this run app expects a parameter that is a widget, meaning that this material app in itself is a widget. So this whole screen that you are seeing here is also a widget. So inside of this material app is another widget called text widget. So a widget can have multiple other widgets that are nested to them for creating an overall UI. Now if you look into any widget, for instance this text widget, control and click, we can see that widgets are actually classes. In our case, this text widget has been extended from this stateless widget, meaning that it is actually a class that has extended another class. So widgets can be referred to as objects in Flutter. They can be used, reused, destroyed and then be used again. So they can be referred to as building blocks of a Flutter app. So now that we have a basic understanding of what widgets are, let's continue with the decoration of our app. So let's have a look at our code again. So we have a run app function. Inside of it we have this material app widget which has this text widget inside of it. But instead of using this text widget, we will be using a widget that is provided by this material.dart that will make our app beautiful. So that widget is called scaffold. So now let's have a look at what kind of arguments can be passed inside of this scaffold widget. So press Ctrl and space, and the thing that we need for now is the body. Now if you hover in this body, you can see that this body expects a widget. So text is a widget, right? So we can pass text hello Flutter. Now let's save this. Now seems like my emulator has been disconnected, so run and then start debugging. So here you can see the output of this code. Now what we need is a app bar. So let's get on with it. So app bar, and now if you hover this app bar, you can see that it expects a preferred size widget which is a custom widget. Now we'll also be learning how we can create a custom widget. So for now we need to pass this preferred size widget. So keep your cursor here, then control and space, and this will provide a suggestion. This first suggestion, app bar, needs to be used, which is a type of preferred size widget, right? Now inside of it there are extra arguments that can be passed. So we will be needing the title in the app bar, so we will be passing title, and if you hover this title expects an widget, right? So let's pass text over here. So text widget, and we'll be writing hello Flutter app. Now after saving this, you can press this icon. This is called hot restart, and I'll be getting to this hot restart and hot reload later. But for now you can press this icon and you can see the updated results in our emulator. Our app is looking a lot better than what it was previously. So if we see at this code again, we can see that first we have this material app widget. Inside of it we have this scaffold widget which is responsible for creating a beautiful layout. And inside of it we have an argument called app bar, and inside of it a title in which we pass this text widget, and then we have a body of this scaffold in which we pass the text widget. So by utilizing widgets we are able to create a basic UI for our app. So there is one important thing that you need to keep in mind while you are developing your apps in Flutter through Visual Studio Code. So you might have noticed that this blue text pops up every time we create a widget. So this blue text is the suggestion that is provided by the Flutter. These suggestions are provided by the Flutter for improving our app speed or app performance. So whenever you get this blue message over here, you can click at this bulb icon and then accept the suggestion. Right? By doing this, we are improving the performance of our app, and also we are getting rid of these informational messages from our Dart file. right? So whenever you see this blue text popping up over here, you can click at the widget, click at the bulb icon, and then accept the suggestion. Now there is a better way for accepting the suggestion, so let me undo this. So whenever you get this suggestion, you can click at this bulb icon, and instead of using this add const modifier, you can click at this add const modifier everywhere in the file. Now this will add this const modifier everywhere, so all of these messages will disappear, right? So it is an easier way. So as we proceed in this course, you will be seeing a lot of informational messages in my editor, but I'll be ignoring that so I can speed up the development process. But I do not recommend you ignoring these informational messages. Instead, click at the bulb icon and accept the recommendation. Alright, so in the next lesson, we will be working on refining this app. So I'll see you at the next lesson. In this lesson, we'll have a look at hot reload, hot restart, and hard restart on Flutter. So whenever you start debugging your apps on Flutter, you will be getting this bar on your VS Code. So you can see there are multiple icons in this bar, and in this lesson we'll have a look at these 3 icons, and for these other icons we'll come back to them eventually. So let's get started by understanding how they work. So let's start with this icon. So if I press this, the app that is open in our emulator will be terminated, and our debugging will also stop. So this stop sign can also be referred to as hard restart, meaning that if I click this icon, our app will be terminated, and then if I again start debugging, a new APK will be installed replacing this old APK. So this process is like exiting our VS Code or debugging process and then start debugging again. And we generally do this when we make a major change in our application. In our normal course of development, we use this hot restart and hot reload, and we use it very often. So let's understand what hot reload and hot restart is in Flutter. So this hot reload and hot restart feature is provided by Flutter, so we do not have to restart our application every time we make change in our code. Using these features, we can instantly see the output when we update our code. Say for example, if I change this string to something else, and if I click at this hot restart icon, my app will restart and I can see the change almost immediately. So by using this hot restart, I do not have to wait for installing my another instance of application in my emulator and then executing it. Instead of installing and executing, it will take the code and then update our UI according to the change that is made in our code. So instead of this hard restart, we often use this hot restart, but even more powerful than this is the hot reload. So let's understand what this hot reload does. So you might have noticed that if I make a slight change in my code and if I save this code, this hot reload is triggered automatically. But we are not able to see the changes in our emulator. So why is that? Why is our hot restart working but our hot reload is not doing anything? And this is because for hot reload to work, we need to use a special class provided by Flutter. So now let's make our hot reload work by using this special class. So for that, let's create our own class first. So class myApp, and this class will extend the special class provided by Flutter. So extends, meaning that we are using all the parameters and method of that special class, and that special class is stateless widget. Now there are mainly 2 types of special widgets in Flutter or special class in Flutter. First being the stateless widget and another the stateful widget. Now there is another lesson in this course which will explain the difference between this stateless and stateful widget. So for now, let's skip the differences and explanation. Alright. So when I am extending this stateless widget class, I am getting an error, and this error has occurred because when we are extending this stateless widget, we need to override the build method. So click at this myApp, click at this light bulb icon, and then click at create one missing override. Now instead of using that light bulb, you can also simply take your cursor to the end of this word and then press Ctrl and dot, and then you can create a new override. You need to use your keyboard shortcut if you want to code faster. So instead of just clicking at the light bulb, we can press Ctrl and dot and then get the solution, right? So here you can see that we are trying to override this build method of this stateless widget. So in this build function, you can see an argument over here called build context. Let's talk about it a little bit because we'll be using this a lot in Flutter. So in Flutter, build context is like an address for your widgets, alright? So when you are building your app, each widget needs to know where it is in the screen. So this build context helps Flutter to keep track of where to put each piece in your app, alright? It's like telling Flutter, put this widget here on the screen. Simple as that. So in this course and Flutter development, we will be using this build context or context a lot. Just think of it as a special tool you need for showing stops on your screen, alright? Every time you see this context, just remember, it's what Flutter uses to put things where they belong on your screen. Easy, right? And this build method is of return type widget. So we can return a widget here. So remove this and then type return. And here this build method wants us to return a widget, and our material app is a widget, right? So here we will be returning this material app. So cut this material app. Now if you want to see where this material app has ended, if you click at the open of a parenthesis, you can get the ending. So it is started from here and it has ended here. So cut this code and then we will be returning the material app and end with the semicolon. And now here, instead of this run app executing this material app, we want this run app function to execute this my app class. So pass my app over here. Now let's save this code. Let's restart our app. And now whenever we make any changes over here, if we save our code, then it is reflected automatically instantly. So by extending this stateless widget class, we were able to enable hot reload in our project. This hot reload feature is very powerful in Flutter. It will take a fraction of a second for our changes to be reflected in our app. Now if I type anything here, then it will be reflected here instantly. Now if you look into our code carefully, you can see that we created a custom widget in Flutter. By extending this stateless widget, our class myApp has turned into a Flutter widget. So keep in mind that this is how you create a custom widget. So here in our runApp function, we used our myApp custom widget instead of just using this material app widget. Previously we had used this material app widget inside of this runApp, but instead of that we created our own custom widget and then we passed it in our runApp. And as this myApp extended this stateless widget class has many other functionalities or methods that supported this hot reload. So we are able to leverage this hot reload by extending this stateless widget and creating our own custom widget. And after we pass this myApp in our runApp, we are able to leverage this hot reload. And throughout this course, whenever we want to build a custom widget, we will use this same method. So now that we can use this hot reload, our development will be much faster. So from the next lesson, we will be working on improving our Hello Flutter app. So I'll see you at the next lesson. In this lesson, we will be working with container widgets in Flutter. If you are a web developer or you know the basics of HTML, then container is like a div in web development. You can use it anywhere to wrap anything. So this is one of the most used widgets in Flutter. So let's get started by creating a container. So let me remove this text. So container, and it has various arguments that can be passed. For now, I'll be providing my container a height. Let it be 100, and then width 100. And then I'll be providing it a background color. So for providing the background color, I can use the argument color. Now if I want my container to be of red color, I can use colors.red, and this will make my container red. It can also be blue, green, or any color that you want. If you type colors dot, then you will get all these suggestions that you can use in Flutter. And this is how we basically work with color. Now I'm using indigo over here. If I save this, I will get the indigo colored container on my emulator. Now while you are working with VS Code, if your code moves to the right side and you have difficulty seeing your code, click at view and then word wrap. This option will wrap your code and it will be easier for you to see all your code. Now while you are working with colors in Flutter, you can also provide intensity using the big brackets. If I provide 200, then it will be slightly lighter. So if I provide 100, then it will be a bit lighter than that. So lower the number, lighter the intensity, higher the number, the higher the intensity. So to see all the shades that are available, you can remove this and dot indigo, and then you can see all the shades that are currently available on Flutter. So you can use any of this intensity. So in my case, I want to use 600. So I'll be getting this color. We can also use another widget inside of this container widget as a child. So we can use the argument child and then provide the widget. So I'll be providing the text widget, hello Flutter. And if I save this code, you can see that I have got this text widget hello Flutter inside of this container. So let's make this container a little bit lighter so we can see the text. So instead of this, I'll be providing gray color and a lighter shade. So now we can see the text as well. And here you can see that this hello Flutter text is touching the very top of our container. So we want a little bit of padding or internal spacing. So for providing the internal spacing, you can use the padding argument. So padding, and then this padding will expect this edge insert geometry, which means edge inserts. And then now if you want spacing of equal number or equal pixel on each side, then you can use .all, and inside of it you can write the pixel size. So if I want 20 pixel padding internal spacing, then I'll be writing edge inserts.all 20, and this will provide internal spacing from each side. Internal spacing means padding, right? Now if you want this internal spacing only at the top, then instead of this all, you can write only, and you can provide top and then 20. Now this will provide internal spacing but only at the top. Now if you want at the bottom as well, so you can write bottom, and then you can provide 20. Now this will provide top and bottom padding, and same with the right and left. So either you can use edge inserts.all or edge inserts.only. Right? For now, instead of this only, I'll be using edge inserts.all, and then I'll be providing 10 pixels internal spacing from everywhere. So that seems okay. This internal spacing is called padding, and the outer spacing is called margin in web development or in Flutter. So how can we provide outer spacing? For that, we need to use the margin argument. And margin will also expect this edge inserts geometry, so edge inserts dot all. And if I want 10 pixel spacing, then I can write 10 over here, and I'll get the outer spacing 10 pixel from each side. Now if I want only from the top, then I can write only and then provide top argument like so. This will only bring up the top margin of 10 pixels. Now a thing to keep in mind while working with containers is that instead of providing a background color in our container by using this color argument, it is recommended that we use box decoration for providing the color. So instead of this color, let's remove this and let's provide decoration argument, and in decoration there will be a box decoration, and inside of this will be the color and colors.red. Now if I save this, we will be getting the same result, but this decoration argument comes with this box decoration, and this box decoration have additional argument that can be used to customize our container. For instance, if you want to provide a radius to this container, you can use border radius and then border radius dot circular, and inside of this we will be providing the pixel of the radius, so it will be a 20 pixel. And by doing this, we get a beautiful radius in our container. So it is recommended that we use this box decoration argument for customizing our container, right? Now there is another thing about this container widget. If you do not provide this height and width to a container, then this container will adjust its height and width according to the child height and width. So if I save this code, you can see that container is wrapping only the child and adjusting its height accordingly, right? But if you want this container to take full height or full width, then you can use double dot infinity. Meaning that if you want this container to be a full height, then you can write height is the double dot infinity. Meaning that it will take up all the space that is available for the height. Now if you want this to be a full width, then you can write width double dot infinity. And this will take off all the width that is available to the container. So now let's have a look at the final version of our Hello Flutter app so that we can see where the containers are being used. So here I can see two containers being used. The first container is occupying the full height and full width with a subtle blue color as a background, and there is another container over here with a black background color and a border radius with some padding as well and some margins. For now, let's try replicating this container with full width and full height. But first, let's try replicating this app bar with a similar color and with the text Hello Flutter. So I'll keep this over here so that we can see changes in real time. So instead of hello Flutter and some gibberish text, what I'll be writing here is hello Flutter, and then we can see hello Flutter over here. And then as this title is in this center, we'll be using another argument. So center title true. Let's save this, and it is in the center. And now this app bar seems to be using a dark blue color, so let's provide a background color. So control and space to see the suggestions. So this is the background color, so colors dot blue. So let's see what color we get. We get the same color, so it is a little bit darker, so let's provide the highest darkness in the color, so 900. And here we go, same text, same color, and everything the same. Now only difference is that in this completed app there is a font loaded, a Poppins font. We do not have this font currently, but we were able to replicate the style of this app bar entirely, right? Now let's try to duplicate this container. So container, will be removing the padding, and this container do not have a child, so we'll be removing this as well. And this height is double infinity, width is double infinity, fine. And then this decoration, inside of this decoration we have a blue color, so blue, and then I think it is of 50. No, I think it is of 100. And this container does not have a border radius, so let's remove this as well. And there you go, we have successfully replicated the app bar and the container. So in the next lesson we'll be learning about columns in Flutter. So I'll see you at the next lesson. So in the previous lesson we learned about containers, and we are able to replicate the app bar and the container of our Hello Flutter app. So in this lesson we will be learning about the columns, and we will see how columns can help us align objects in a vertical order. So now let's get started by creating a column inside our container. So currently you can see that we do not have any child of this container, so let's create one. So whenever you are creating a child for a widget, make sure that you place this child argument at the end of all other arguments, so that whenever you see your code again, you can figure out that these are the properties of this widget and this is a child component. So in this child argument of this container, we will have a column. And this column can have multiple widgets as the children. So in container you can see that we have a single child, but this column can have multiple child. So if you press Ctrl and space, then you can see that we have this children argument, and we can pass multiple widgets inside of this children argument. So I'll be passing 3 text widget as a children for this column. So the first text is, this is text 1. Let's copy this for the second widget and the third widget, 2 and 3. Now if I save this code, you can see that the children widget inside of this column are aligned in a vertical order. So if you want to align widgets in a vertical order, then you should be using a column. And if you want to align widgets in a horizontal order, you can use row for that, but row will be covered in another lesson. So for now, let's stick with a column. Now in column, there are many different ways in which we can align these children objects in a vertical order. So let's explore them. So if you press Ctrl and space, then you can see this main axis alignment. So if I set main axis alignment to main axis alignment dot center, then you can see that the children of this column are placed vertically in the center. And this is because the main axis of a column means the y-axis, so it is placed vertically in the center. Now if I want the children of this column to have equal space between them, then I can use main axis alignment dot space between, and this will provide equal spacing for all the children components. And if I use main axis alignment dot start, then all of these children components will start from where the column has started. If I keep this end, then this will be placed at the end of the column. So let's see what else can be done in this main axis. So main axis alignment dot space around will provide space around these components and then space inside of this column. So if I use this space evenly, then space is evenly distributed inside of these components. So for now, let's use space between. And now if you want to change the horizontal alignment of the column, then you can use the argument of cross-axis alignment. Now in cross-axis alignment, you can tap into the x-axis of a column. So if I use cross-axis alignment dot start, then you can see that the children of this column are placed at the horizontal start, right? Now instead of start, if I use end, then this will move to the end of the column in an horizontal axis. So if I use center, then you can see that they are placed at the center in an horizontal axis. So this is how you work with columns in Flutter. So let's have a look at the completed Hello Flutter project. And here you can see that there are three components, first, second and third, placed in a horizontal order, right? And if you look into our emulator, we have also created the same layout, except that we are not providing a padding inside of our container. So let's provide a padding. So inside of this container, we'll be providing padding as inserts.all, and we'll be providing 10 pixel of padding. Maybe 20 pixel will do the job. Yeah, that's about right. So we have replicated the layout of our Hello Flutter app. So in this app, there are three children inside of a column: the first children, second children and third children. So let's rename this is text1 to first, second and third children, so that it will be easier for us to proceed. So now that we have replicated the column structure, we are ready to move forward and make some more changes in our Hello Flutter app. So I'll see you at the next lesson.